I'm fine, I think.
Okay, now you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, we're already live. Shit.
Yep, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Heck, you know what? Since I got this made, let's do the cool little intro. No, wrong button.
That's really we should work this out where it's like automatic before we go live. You know, there's a.
It should be. It should be. I should do that. That would be the smart play. But I have never said I'm a smart man. All right. Anywho, joining us today, we've got Fred, the trucker for Yane. Fred the Felon. Thank you for joining us, man.
Hey, how's it going, folks?
Absolutely splendid. I don't know about you, but I myself am looking forward to quite the turkey feast tomorrow.
I am too.
But I haven't, I know a lot of people are like traveling home for the holidays. I don't know. I'm guessing you're living at home, like not trucking somewhere right now.
Yeah. So I'm at home for till Monday. So we're gonna break out with the Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
And we're gonna break out with some turkey.
That's good. That's good.
Cool.
I've noticed that despite the pandemic, most people I know still seem to be having like a Thanksgiving dinner with their family. And I'm not one to be casting any sort of, judgment on that. But I find that interesting. Me myself, like I enlisted straight out of high school, and I have spent most of my Thanksgivings away from family, including this one tomorrow. But it's been all right. I haven't minded it too much.
When you say enlisted, you're talking about the military. You were in the Army or
Air Force?
Air Force.
For 8 years.
Thanks for serving.
I mean, I want to say it was my pleasure. Some days were good, but it didn't really feel too much like service. It's kind of it was just something I was honored to do,
Pierce, I don't know if where's your family mostly at?
My parents live in Las Vegas.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, that's not where I grew up, but
Yeah.
Kids moved out of the house a while ago, and parents were like, "All right, moving to Vegas."
Mm-hmm.
Got to be close to the slot machines when you're in retirement.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's neither of them would touch a slot machine in their lives. I don't think they've ever done that or ever will.
Why are they there?
Why are they there? Because it's warm.
Siegfried and Roy.
Because housing was cheap.
Vegas has its it has its strong points.
It truly does. Like, it has basically an unrivaled entertainment sector. Even if you're not in mood for the gambling or the, scantily clad ladies, there is plenty of things to do,
I'm always in the mood for a scantily clad.
Yeah, you're not too. Fred, if I remember correctly, you're out of Arizona, right?
Correct. So I live in Maricopa. Mm-hmm. Which, when you hear Maricopa, you usually hear of Maricopa County, right? Because that's Phoenix. I actually live in Pinell County, in the city of Maricopa.
Oh, okay.
So nice. It's outside of Phoenix, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm from Arizona. Like, I just moved from there these last few months. I'm over in Virginia now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I was down in Tucson for years, and then I grew up like Bullhead City area, right up near Nevada and all that. So I like my childhood, I would go to Vegas decently frequently, which, amounted to like circus, and that's it. And I just don't care about, I've like went and walked the strip as like an adult a few times, and just, I can't bring myself to care about it. And you ever drive around Las Vegas during the day? Not good.
It's very true.
Yeah, I don't know. It just depresses me. But that's just me.
What other city, though, can you see Brittany, Cher, and Siegfried and Roy all on the same night?
I mean, I guess literally only there by definition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure your parents live in a lovely part, though, Beer. I'm sure they're enjoying it.
They probably live down in that southeastern area where it's like nice and not trashy.
Sure. That's not, but you know, they live in an okay part. Hello, Mrs. Fred.
Hey, come here, baby. This is the Boo Bear.
Hi.
How you doing? My name is Pierce. Us and everybody watching is Yang Yang.
Devin, and
generally speaking.
Yes,
yeah.
And Jason.
Hey.
So this is my lady Eva.
Pleasure to meet you, Eva.
You're cooking a good Thanksgiving for her tomorrow, right, Fred?
What's that?
You're cooking a good Thanksgiving for her. You're not going to make her get in the kitchen at all.
Oh man, I'm sorry, bro. Like, yeah, she's gonna be doing the cooking.
All day by myself.
Wow, Fred. You can at least open the cranberry sauce for her.
I might open a few cans of cranberry sauce. You know, chop up a few things, but we actually have a grill that we have a smoker, so we're gonna smoke a turkey.
That's always
that's gonna be interesting.
Did you brine it beforehand on the smoking?
You know, I don't really know how that works.
Oh. You just put it in a 5-gallon bucket full of water, salt water, and it pulls out all of the turkey moisture and adds more like salt into it, so it's like a more flavorful.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, my lady is smoking hot. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, let's see what's saying.
Bye, Mr. Bond.
That's good. All right. Anyway, so Fred, like, change the note away from Vegas.
Yeah.
How the heck did you hear about Yane in the first place? Because you clued into Andrew Yane way before the average American was paying any attention, right? So what the heck drew you to him in the first place?
Well, I wanted to smash him.
Same as me.
I was like, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
I was like, give everybody $1,000 a month. The fuck is that shit? Right? I'm like, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard. This guy's a communist. And then, so then I download. So I was like, a friend of mine, Red Viking Trucker, had him on his show. And I was like, not listening, but listening. And then Red Viking went to kind of like put him into a corner somewhere. And he was like, no. It's not about like left or right, but forward. We're just trying to like solve the problem here. And I was like looking around. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is that shit? I was like, holy shit. Who is this guy?
Sure.
So then I downloaded his book. For those of you that don't know who are new to the podcast, I got 2 copies here. This is the book, The War on Normal People. For those of you that are new to the podcast.
That's pre-campaign or pre.
Yeah. So I downloaded the book and I was just like, damn, we're fucked. So then I was like, yeah, we're fucked. But I wasn't really too keen on the Democrat thing because maybe I haven't really paid attention to politics, but what I got out of politics is if you're white and you're male, you vote Republican, right? Like that's
no.
I mean,
never.
I think
that's what I got when I watched the news because
yeah, definitely that's what's in the news. I think
if you watch CNN, if you watch Fox, you get like, okay, white males vote Republican. And then if you watch CNN, you get, like basically you get this victim bullshit all over Fox or all over CNN, right? Which I am like diametrically opposed to. And then when I when I listened to the book, it wasn't about being a victim or any of this, like victim mindset. It was just about, okay, there's a problem. And the problem is that there's not going to be any value in our human labor. And we're going to have to move to it. It's not about like communism, or it's not about socialism or capitalism. It's simply about like there's a problem that's not going to be able to be solved by the normal terms of like capitalists or socialists.
Right.
And we just need to problem solve for said problem.
Yeah, like people just dig into place in that, like wherever they're at, or wherever they, like you said, you watch different news and you just got this perception on how people vote, and then therefore maybe how you ought to vote, and then people will just keep getting that same info, and then kind of just dig in, and then maybe they'll hear some stuff that they actually don't like, then they'll just assume that, people who vote like that think that way, or people who run that way think that way, and then they're just kind of stuck in place, and then no one's actually talking about the problems. They're just kind of, getting really, really upset over minor language.
Yeah, they're majoring down south. We used to, now from Missouri, we call it majoring on minors, right? Or making mountains out of molehills, right?
Yeah.
That one.
So one of the things that I liked about Andrew, I initially took the meeting with him so I could like play spoiler. And then I was like, Sun Tzu's art of war is know thy enemy, like one of the main rules, right? So like I automatically saw this person as an enemy, right? Because his ideology was opposed to my ideology. And then once I read his book, I was just like, damn, we're fucked. And then I listened to the podcast, Joe Rogan, and then the Breakfast Club. That it came out like the same week. So took in 11 hours of like all this information. And I was just like, damn, this guy's like a real person. Because the thing is with the Democrat thing, and I think he really talked about it on CNN lately, where he was like, like the coastal elites trying to regulate and police certain cultural items or issues is really what Republicans or just everyday working Americans see in the breadbasket as a Democrat.
Yeah.
And what I've seen in the Democrat Party from like somebody who just kind of watches the news here and there, and somebody who's like pretty much disaffected, was Democrats have came in with this like, you're a victim, I'm your savior, I'm your hero, I alone can save you, vote for me.
Right. And that's not very American, if I would say so.
And it's very, they call it the soft bigotry of low expectations.
The soft bigotry of low expectations. I've never heard that term before, but it completely
You've never
makes
heard
sense.
of the term of soft bigotry of low expectations?
No, but it makes sense completely. Yeah.
No? Okay, well, the soft bigotry of low expectations means that you take a people group and you set a lower standard for that people group, whether it's women, whether it's a minority group, whether it's somebody who's poor, like, the mountain people of Appalachia, right? And you set a lower standard for them than you would for somebody in another area.
Yeah. It's funny because you hear I think the reason I've heard that term, because you said like, when you first heard about Yang, you wanted to, prove him wrong and all that, and Pierce kind of comes from the same boat, and we've talked about it before where I was super disaffected, like libertarian-y type, was prior to being kind of disaffected. I was definitely didn't like Democrats, and I was watching like, Dave Rubin, Who else?
Oh,
Ben Shapiro. For all these types. Yeah, I know Jason's face.
David's my dude.
The Dave Rubin really got me.
Yeah. I and so they would use those terms a lot because because they're all about like why their whole framework is why the Democrats suck, right? And like so that idea comes up a lot, which is true. It's like that Onion article meme where it's like a person you despise, like makes a good point or whatever. Where they do. There is a point there, but their entire income essentially is predicated around like constantly talking about it, and like they don't actually people who drum up that stuff all the time. They don't actually like provide solutions. They kind of just like feed into the whole like mountain out of molehill type thing.
Well, the thing with Trump is he actually acknowledged that we're fucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with Yang, he's like, you're fucked, and I want to unfuck you, right?
Yeah. That was
that was like like I'm listening to him and I'm like, holy shit, he's right. Like the average Joe working stiff in America with from 60 to 100,000 in college debt, or like if you were fortunate enough to go to college, or like getting into baseline jobs where it's like, okay, I'm making $15 an hour, but I need to qualify for a loan that's like $300,000 in order to get a nice home in a good area. Okay, I'm never going to get where I need to be under this rules. The rules
Mm-hmm.
aren't set up for people to succeed, even under the premise of hard work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're really smart, you're really intelligent. So you got, it's really, man, the economy's tough out here.
Yeah, we've especially with the coronavirus shutdowns and everything, it's definitely been getting worse. I think that's an interesting point. Like, I've always maintained that as long as you're able-bodied with enough determination, you can succeed in the United States. But it doesn't change the fact that it has absolutely gotten harder over the last few decades than before. Like for the first time, we have a generation of kids that are growing up and not outperforming their parents. For the first time in American history, it's never happened before, whether there was war or pandemic or you name it. For the first time, kids are not doing better than their parents. And we don't really know how to cope with that. we really don't.
Well, I mean, Pierce, you're part of a generation. You're part of like the second generation where 80% of us won't be able to retire. So
yeah, I've never I don't expect to get a dime from Social Security.
Yeah,
I'll put it that
you're
way.
not going to be able to retire. Period. Unless you hit it big somewhere, some way, some shape with inflation the way it goes and stuff like that. Like we're part of that. And everyone wants to blame it's like the coastal elites and everything, and it's our fault, but we're just as fucked as everyone else. I mean, and yes, Trump and Yang hit it on the head that for Central America and everything, and it is worse there from what we all experienced in Iowa, but at the same time, it's nationwide. It's not just a section of the country wide. I mean,
for sure. At the same time, though, when you look at things from a macroeconomic perspective, having regional wealth centers, so you hear the trope trickle up or trickle down economics, right?
Yeah.
And recently the trope has been that they don't work. The thing is, trickle down economics do work. It's just inefficient, which is the important thing to recognize, right? So trickle down economics is basically better than no economics. And that's just a clever play on words that makes no sense if you know anything about economics. But my point is If you're in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, then you don't really have too much variety of opportunity going on in your town. Meanwhile, if you're in, say, the San Francisco Bay Area, even if everything is ridiculously expensive, which it is, you have more opportunities, right?
If you know tech.
$18 burritos, baby.
If you know tech.
Yeah, especially if you know tech. I mean, like...
Yeah, but, I mean, unless you've got a hot dog cart on the side of the road, right? Like a little business or something, like, you're not going to get where you need to be, you know, as a barista at Starbucks.
The average person in the Bay Area can't afford to live. Just like straight up, the average person can't do it because everything just costs too much. And if you don't have the skill sets that pay high enough, like you're treading water basically and watching everyone else succeed around you. And like, it's cool to say, oh, hey, I see all these, I guess, cool things around me and I get to experience all these cool things. But at the same time, it really always sucks to be falling behind in the rat race, if you want to, you know, call it.
This is why a life of crime appeals to people. To be quite honest with you, because the options are so minimal, and you're like, I got this other option out here where it's like, you know, I sell a list of drugs, or, you know, rob a bank, or whatever it is to, you know, do whatever to get whatever, right? And if you do the math in your head, it actually makes sense if you're not scared to go to prison, right? And I know that is like shocking to people that like have never lived that type of lifestyle. And so, to hear me say something like that, right? But you know, I live in reality, not not where the Twitter mob or the podcast mob wants me to live, right? And so when I talk to guys who are addicts or felons, one of the first things that we have to agree on is like the reason that you turn to a life of crime is you couldn't work within the parameters that were giving you, that the world gave you, and you didn't have the skills to pay the bills, so to speak, within these parameters, so you went with these other parameters.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, like, honestly, if you talk to any kid in high school, if you're able to get like a straight answer from them and they're from like the straight hood, you're not going to exactly hear them say, oh yeah, I want to be an engineer when I grow up or something like that. They're going to be telling you, man, the whole system's fucked and against me. Why even bother trying and play it?
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true, but I would say, you know, like I grew up in a children's home in a shitty part of St. Louis, which is an all-black neighborhood. And I will say that from what I heard on porches and, you know, playing cards and dominoes with people, it seemed as if people taking the wrong route were glorified over people taking the the good route. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, live fast lifestyle, right?
Yeah. So I mean, these are the problems that we're dealing with in the United States. We're dealing with these problems that, to be quite honest with you, what really impressed me with Andrew is he was actually diagnosing problems and calling out problems that the government hadn't even really recognized as a problem. Mm-hmm. Like part of being in recovery, like the first step is we're fucked, right?
Acceptance, like, right?
Yeah, like okay, the way I'm doing things is not working. You know, like using and abusing drugs is not a path that is going to be sustainable for me the way that I use them. Like, it's for somebody else who like can use successfully. I can't use successfully, right? And our government is like acting much like an addict in freaking in active addiction. Like we're doing shit. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, in my view.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Like, you've had the nickname Fred the Felon. If it's not improper for me to ask you, are you a felon?
Correct. Yes.
All right. I'm not going to ask what you did. That's not important. I will ask how long you've spent time in prison. And
so I was in prison for about 3 years, just short of 4 years. So
4 years. All right.
More, so, in my younger 20s.
Sure.
But more importantly, I've been clean. I'm 44 now. I got clean before my 30th birthday. And so I got 14 years and a half clean. And not a drink, not a drop, nothing, right? So what I do, and I have a YouTube channel. I really haven't posted anything on the YouTube channel for months, but I have a few things that get a lot of views, and people contact me all the time, or in my hometown when I go to meetings, I talk to guys and we talk about a new way to live, and so the new way to live is not the old way that brought us into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. So yeah, I've got a good life in comparison to like living under bridges, running from the cops, shaking down the dope man, trying to rob the dope man, trying to rob a place or take a weed eater out of somebody's garage and take it to the freaking pawn shop. Like I just, when I was young in my 20s, I stole cars. I freaking took them to the shop. Like I just did whatever it took to get another one. You know what I mean? To get another drink, to smoke another rock, whatever it took. So now I don't have to live that life. Now I don't run from anybody. The cops don't chase me. My bills get paid on time. It's like the weirdest thing. Like the cops
thought
don't
you were
chase
straight
me.
edge.
Yeah, So
I had like no idea that you had like overcome like so much. I just thought you were just like one of those people that were just like straight edge, and just never had a bill for like drinking or anything like that.
Oh no, like fuck, man. All I did.
I don't know if I ever saw or heard you mention that you were an addict, but I think I assumed at some point you were and had been clean sometime, because I remember you talking about talking with addicts, right? And I feel like someone who was never an addict isn't gonna talk with addicts in that way. You know what I mean? Like my dad does something similar. He's been sober for, I think it's gonna be 5 years in February, and the way he has talked to people going through it in that since then, whether it's specifically as a mentor or just kind of like more casually, that's the kind of conversation I imagine. Like I am never going to be able to have those conversations with someone who is an addict. Like I've never have been an addict. I've specifically talking about straight edge, Jason. I mean,
I just never saw you drink or do anything. I didn't know that you were straight edge. I knew about your dad though from like our time in Iowa and you talked.
Yeah, like I do. I've never done anything literally because my dad and also because my sister and the experiences they had and everything. So I just like never bothered.
Good, Devin.
Yeah. But because of that, I'm not going to be able to have like those kind of conversations in terms of like just relating and actually helping people in the way that I know. I think I've heard you talk about doing, and then my dad and all that stuff. So,
well, the conversations a lot of times are just very hard to have. Not necessarily on my end, but on the end of the people receiving them, because the reason people use and abuse is they can't accept life on life's terms, and they lack courage. So, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's a felon, who has this tough outside, this tough outside exterior, and you have to tell them, dude, you're a coward. Like that's like how it is. Like, you're a coward. You don't have the courage that it takes to live a new lifestyle. And you have this disposition and disease that's like trying to kill you and take you out, but you don't have the courage to fight it. And when people get it like that, and it takes a certain person to be able to say those things to people with those type of sharp edges. Like when I was young in recovery for like the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I used to actually go into the jail, and you're in jail with people, and you're like, you're a coward. You lack courage, and you need to grow up. And like, that's a hard conversation to have, especially with that type of individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are the conversations that we need to have. And instead of like, oh, poor white trash Freddie, he grew up in a shitty part of Missouri. It's like that doesn't help shit.
True.
Like, I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I need like to learn a new set of skills that will pay my bills to get me where I need to go in life. Not you feel sorry for me and give me food stamps for the rest of my life.
I like have a lot of friends and everything who have like problems, because like in my younger days, I would, my mother was an addict, and I would try, when I grew up, I tried absolutely everything I possibly could to, kind of see what it was like, pretty much everything that didn't involve a needle, because I'm afraid of needles. And I just, people I would talk to and everything after I tried it, and like, I don't really get it. They would say that there's like a switch that gets flipped in your brain, and is that kind of what it feels like for you? Like there was a switch that you just had to turn off at some point to make you stop, or?
Well, I mean, I came to the end of the road. You know what I mean? I just had, sorry, I'm freaking burning up in here.
Nah, you're fine, man.
Dude, I just came to the end of
off every episode. So
hey, I came to the end of the road, bro. It just came to a situation where it was like, all right, do you want to live in your 30s? Do you want to live in your 30s as a freaking loser? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I wouldn't say I'm super intelligent or super smart, but I would say I'm pretty practical. You know what I mean? Like,
you're self-aware.
I'm self-aware. I can problem solve issues fairly decent. If I don't know the how or the why, I can at least figure out the who. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good at aligning myself with like certain people to get things accomplished if I can't accomplish them myself. And I'm out here looking in the landscape, and I'm like, okay, this guy's 40, this guy's 50, this guy died at 55. My buddy just overdosed, like 3 weeks ago. I'm living out of a car. Like, maybe this is not a freaking good situation. Maybe I should try something new. You know what I mean? It was like one of those situations where it's like, dude, recovery was like the last house on the block. I had burned every bridge. Nobody even wanted to sell me dope. I had to go to dope dealers I didn't even fucking know, right? People are looking for me. It was just a situation where I burned every bridge in town, right? And I was just a general scumbag. And that is a reality. Like, that's a reality. Like, nobody wants to admit, hey, I'm a scumbag. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like, that's a hard thing to admit. And like, that's one of those things that, when people come into recovery, like, you have to get them to understand, like, hey, I'm a scumbag, right? And I don't have to be a scumbag. I can just choose a different life. Like, just because I have no courage now doesn't mean 5 minutes from now I can't have courage. Like, courage is something, it's a decision. What's up?
Hey, Mina.
Yeah. So courage is a decision. It's not like one of those things that's like for just the few, the select few, So
yeah.
That's kind of how that works.
Yeah, it's also not something that the people who have it always did. You know what I mean? Like, you think like, oh, courageous people, like those are, you'd assume that, oh, they've always been courageous, or that, people who aren't courageous maybe always haven't been or whatever. But it's not like it'll come and go, and you can like manifest it, right? Like you can.
Yeah, of course.
You can acquire it.
Yeah, correct. Like,
so to Mino, I'll clue you in. Fred here is a former felon and was going over his experiences getting out of the whole trap and system and deciding that he wanted something better out of life. We all know each other through basically following and supporting Andrew Yang. He was a guy that ran for president. Yeah, Yang Gang. He ran for president trying to actually fix problems. Fred was much more of a conservative kind of person, even though Andrew Yang was a Democrat. That's because Andrew Yang talked about like actually solving issues, and one topic led to another. So here we are, basically talking about life of crime and how to get out of it.
Well, I think with Andrew, he's such a good listener, and he's always gathering intel. And that's one of the things that, like, when we met up, I had stayed up the night before, and I was like, how like when you're kind of slap happy because you haven't slept, you talk a lot. I did most of the talking, and I should have listened more. But Andrew is so good at like gathering intel, and like he's not one of those people that you can't get next to him and then influence him another way. Like, if you bring him data or knowledge about a problem and how to fix said problem, he'll be like, you know what? I was thinking about this the wrong way. Let's go another direction.
Sure.
He's a sponge, and he just like absorbs everything that's around him, and he only speaks when necessary.
Yeah, correct. So I was just like, holy cow, like this guy's a real person. Like, I was expecting him to be, quite frankly, Democrats are pussies, right? Like, that's just how I feel, right? Now, I'm not saying like all Democrats are pussies, right? But by and large, the bucket of pussy ass Democrats is pretty large, right? And so I just wanted to know that like this guy's like a real person. I was like 90% sold after watching the podcast and reading his book and getting to know him after listening to him, but not meeting him. So one of the things that I tried to do is kind of like poke and prod him with like, I wonder if this will piss him off. I wonder if this will get him to react a certain way. Just like throwing out shit, right?
Yeah.
And seeing how he would respond, right? And I'm like, this guy's like a dude, right?
Yeah.
This guy's like a dude's dude. He's not soft, right? He's not offended by like everything that comes out of it. You know, like right now, we live in a Twitter, Facebook sphere rather, where everything you say is a huge fucking deal. You know what I mean?
Twitter mobs and outrage culture, you know.
Yeah, everything's an outrage.
Yeah, people,
you know what I mean? Especially for a guy like me, where like especially for a guy like me, I'm like, I'm open about who I am. Like, I'm a guy. I like motorcycles, trucks.
Your shirt says "Wanna hurt sandwich."
What?
I said your shirt says "Wanna hurt sandwich."
Wanna hurt donut.
Or hurt donut, yeah.
Oh, hurt donuts. That's here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, my buddy owns Hertz Donut here in. So like, you know, like I was wondering like if this is, you know, he's going to be one of those people that's like. Typically, I just think Democrats are weak. Like that's where I was thinking, right, prior to meeting him, and then after joining the Democrat Party, most of what I thought about Democrats came out to be true anyway, right? Right? Like Democrats are fucking weak. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think that can be said for both parties pretty equally, though.
I don't, because if Democrats and Republicans had an all-out war, Democrats would get their ass handed to them.
I don't know. I'm a pretty damn good shot, and I own some guns.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If Democrats
Use the exception, Jason. Use the exception.
You're probably the exception to the rule. So
I ain't getting my ass kicked unless I'm going down fighting. So
well, I don't even like the concept in the first place, especially considering that you're involved in firearms. As someone that uses firearms very well, you know, there's a saying. God didn't create God created men all equal, but only until Samuel Colt came around or something like that.
Correct.
You know? Right.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like the culture within the Democrat Party is like you can't say anything that's controversial. You don't want to create any waves. You don't want to mess with the Twitter mob or the left mob or the woke mob or the commie mob or the socialist mob. Like there's like 10 different factions of like people you can piss off within the Democrat Party. Within the Republican Party, it's like don't fuck with our guns or we'll kill you. There's pretty much like they only have a few things that's like Republicans are like healthcare. Who gives a fuck, right?
I think you need to check out a man named Robert Evans. You do have a different opinion on Democrats. He's a pretty cool guy.
I've definitely.
I mean, we can talk about like the outliers if you want, but I'm talking about the general Democrat Party as a whole. Andrew doesn't fit into because like the dude is a problem solver and he's going to speak his mind. And if it hurts somebody else's feelings, like you're not going to see him with this apology tour.
I actually think it's really interesting to note that Andrew Yane's basically the kind of person that wouldn't ever need an apology tour in the first place. He always words things so carefully as to not offend anybody. You know, and it's something about like his friendly demeanor, because like when most politicians do it, you see that it's them just like trying to not step on landmines or you know whatever, and
or
then
create landmines, one or the other. Right,
yeah, and then behind closed doors, you know, they're chewing out whatever person or type of person they were just claiming to try to help. And then Andrew Yang, it just seems much more like you see what you get. you know?
Well, the thing is like the other day he was mentioning, okay, like we've got to ask ourselves, why did we lose Iowa, which is an agricultural hub? Why did we lose Ohio, which is a manufacturing hub? So in people's heads, they should be thinking that the Democrat Party is like, if you're a farmer, if you're a trucker, if you're, like a retail worker, you should be thinking that the Democrat Party is somehow like your friend. But that's not the way it is. The average, like a lot of these people in the breadbasket, they're like, as soon as they hear Democrat, they're like, I'm out. I've actually had truckers that have told me, I like Andrew Yang, but as long as there's a D next to his name, it ain't happening.
Well, I mean, he's been a lifelong Democrat, though. So, like, he's said it multiple times.
Yeah,
he's a Democrat. That's just who he is. He's an outlier, like a lot of us are. I mean, you're looking at a microcosm of, the people who bitch about everything. But, like, on the general, like, most of us are outliers. Most of us, don't want to take your guns. We don't give a fuck. We just want you to be smart about the way you buy them and own them. But we want to set up like a tracking system for the bullets, not the gun itself.
But Jason, it's like it's specifically that, like what we were saying.
I mean, Republicans get just as butthurt over a bunch of shit too. So
yeah, it's specifically what we were saying in the beginning about like the mountain out of molehill, like just kind of plant, like establishing your ground and just arbitrarily being like, no, like just drawing a line at like the D or the, like blanket statement kind of thing. People talk about why Yang is different and, not a politician and all this stuff. It's really that he doesn't do specifically that, right? Like you were saying, Fred, earlier about how, he's Jason was saying he's a sponge. You guys are saying he like collects data and everything. Really, he's just the opposite of, I don't like Democrats just broadly. Or Republicans suck because XYZ. Like he is fully entrenched in that like nuanced gray area that is like just, which is part of why he didn't do that well in his campaign, because it's a very difficult.
That's one of the things that frustrates me. And I was on a podcast and he was on it with nerds, and I wanted to take him to task on a few things, right? And like sometimes I'll text him and I'll say, bro, defend yourself. Like with the Georgia thing, I texted him, I was like, hey, you're getting roasted right now. The conservatives are roasting you, and you ain't said shit.
Yep.
And Zach hasn't said shit. And he's like, well, I said something on Yang Speaks. I'm like, dude, you got like 90,000 subs on Yang Speaks. Who gives a fuck, right? You need to take that portion of Yang Speaks and put it on Twitter because you have 1.8 million. And he was like, yeah, that sounds plausible because people are actually roasting him on Twitter, right? Mm-hmm. And like he defended himself, which I was like, damn. I like that. One of the things I wanted to take him to task on that I didn't because we didn't have enough time. I wanted to talk to him about like, hey, I feel like you really understand how to build out a policy page and how to run the country. Like Yang would be a great president.
Yeah.
Because he would be able to hear out all parties and all viewpoints. Where certain presidents, they just like if certain viewpoints aren't even going to be heard, right? And he's a uniter in chief rather than the divider in chief we have now,
right?
Whereas, so he's a great president. What I think where he lacks or his team lacks is how to win the job. Winning the job and becoming the president is completely different from what you would do while you're president. And I don't think his team or him really understood or still do understand how elections are won. Elections are won much like the playoffs in football or basketball. It's about moments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about zingers, one-liners, debates, appearances. It's about how the media views you, and especially in America, like we like fights. Like we will pay. Like you have boxing matches, UFC, football. We will actually pay to watch people fight. That's just the way we are. Like we like fights, and we vote a lot about like who won the fight, who is the better fighter, who made the better argument, or who is more famous. Those are the two ways I believe we vote. It's not like we're taking policy pages of 7 different top tier candidates and doing an apples to apples comparison of all these different candidates. That's not how we vote.
We know that's not how it works because of how Yang did in the primary. Like
because he would have won. Like it's not even a competition.
Yeah. And so the problem with him not knowing how to campaign, or maybe his team or whatever, it's that like why he felt the urge to run and how he would govern which is all the policies and the way he approaches things, and like the gray area, like had long conversation. That's diametrically opposed to everything that you just said, Fred, about like how you get people to vote for you at scale, and that whole, and even the unifier thing would be something that's appealing, right? I mean, that's what I think drew everyone to Biden, was their perception that he's centrist, right? Yang's like the only figure I can think of that is, popular across parties as a real person and blah, 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 but isn't like Biden wants to be a uniter in chief, but he wants to do it by like slapping some Republicans in his cabinet and saying, oh yeah, all these two diametrically opposed policies are equally valid. Let's all talk. We're all Americans. Like,
does anybody find that Andrew, like, does anybody find it interesting that Andrew Yang is a capitalist, socialist, communist, liberal, leftist, Republican, libertarian, Green Party genius?
Yeah, he's all those things. Yeah, because
he's just a problem solver. Whether the idea comes from a capitalist,
he doesn't give a fuck where it comes from.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what attracted me to him. I'd like to coin the new term forwardist. Andrew Yang is a forwardist.
Yeah, definitely.
Please don't start a political party and start selling T-shirts at $80 a pop. Not on this podcast, man. Please.
I should start selling T-shirts that say "fuck the DNC."
That already exists. They're on SD.
No one
all
done
over the
that.
place.
What's that?
They're on SD. They're all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because remember, Bernie was even.
I have fundamental problems with the DNC too, as liberal as I am. But
Well, here's the problem.
It's just where my beliefs lie and where they lie, and
Here's the problem that I see coming, and it actually, I think it's this Sunday they're going to do a thing about vice presidents, right, and how vice presidents became presidents on CNN. So what I think they're doing is they're already setting the foreground for Kamala.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're setting the foreground for Kamala, and the thing is I'm one of the few people who, like, if there's a touchy subject, like if, you know, like white people can't talk black issues, men can't talk men can't talk women's issues. That whole narrative, I don't buy it, right? Like, I'm going to say whatever the fuck is on my mind, and I don't give a fuck how somebody feels about it. And I don't care about the accusations that come my way about, you know, you're sexist or you're racist or this because of it, right? I just think that going up against a female who is a black woman as a DNC candidate in 2024 could be political suicide, because she's a trifecta. She's a vice president. She's the first female that could be president, and she's a black woman. And I don't give a shit that she's a female. I don't give a shit that she's black. I don't care. All I want is a good person for president. And Yang is an upgrade over Kamala. My worry is Yang is not going to run because he knows it's going to be political suicide. What are your thoughts?
So, all right. I definitely got thoughts on that. First off, Yang wants to solve problems, right? And he's much more apparently a bird in the hand rather than two in the bush kind of guy, because it's my impression that he's hoping to get some sort of national level position where he's able to affect change immediately, right? So in other words, he ran for president as a method to solve problems, not to actually become president, all right? So that's an important distinction, because if he was trying to become president, or if he thought that becoming president was the only way to solve problems, then he would have announced his candidacy for mayor. Because as far as I can see, the only pathway that he legitimately has to being president in 2024 is by being mayor of New York City. No one knows who the Secretary of Labor or Commerce or Transportation or, you know, you name it is.
Wasn't it Julio Castro before him?
So Julio Castro was the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. And you probably only know that because Julio Castro actually ran for president.
Exactly. Thank you.
Nobody knows normally who the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is, right?
Like
the only cabinet positions you normally know are Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State. Those are the only two cabinet positions you normally know. In the United States, we also know the Secretary of Education.
Everybody knows Ben Carson because he's a brainiac who's an idiot.
And he ran for president.
Right. And he ran for president.
Yes.
He ran for president.
Ben Carson was beating Trump in the polls. Actually, Ben Carson was literally first place in the polls for like 2 months.
Here's the thing. Ben Carson would have been a hell of a candidate, but the problem with Ben Carson is as soon as he talks, you want to go to sleep. Like, he doesn't know how to close, draw people in. Like Andrew, he's a closer. Like, he's going to give you a speech and he says, "Are you willing to create that wave with me?" Right? He's bringing you in, he's drawing you in, and he's always asking you things like, "Are you willing to help?" He's always got his clotheslines and his inspiration loaded, ready to fire. Man, Ben Carson is boring. The second he talks, you're just like, fuck, dude, could you change the channel? He's terrible.
I have not heard him speak that very often. Actually, I haven't heard him speak in a long time now, come to think of it. It's been several years since I've heard the man speak.
Well, I mean, he defended himself against the golden toilet he had put in his office a couple of months ago.
I do not care about that petty drama shit at all.
Well, I mean, it's your tax dollars.
If dude got, $100,000 and he wants to blow $100,000 on his golden toilet.
It was your $100,000, not his.
Yeah, if it's my $100,000, I might, care a little bit more.
Well, no, it was your $100,000.
It was my $100,000. Okay.
It was taxpayer dollars that pay for his $2 million office upgrade.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, jaded as I am now, $2 million is like a drop in the bucket in terms of our federal problems.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck.
$2 million used to be a scandal, but Anywho, you were asking like about Yang becoming, president and whatnot. Like I agree with you. I think that he sees that right now the Democratic Party. I don't think they learned anything. They didn't learn jack diddly dick from Trump winning the presidency, right?
Yes.
So they think that was all a fluke, and they're basically attempting to like coronate. What am I trying to say? Kamala Harris to be the next president. I think that Biden is going to be a one-term president. Some people think that he's going to step down during his presidency. I don't actually think he's going to do that. But I don't think that he's going to run for re-election. I think that they're basically going to try to like pass off the crown to Kamala Harris. And it's pretty unorthodox to run against your own party when, you're running against the incumbent. And Kamala Harris wouldn't technically be the incumbent in this case, but like really speaking, she's the incumbent. One thing a lot of people don't remember from the race is that Kamala Harris was the most endorsed person by politicians, by the establishment, by the DNC during the race. She had more insider endorsements than Joe Biden did.
Yeah, of course she did, because she had Hillary. So Hillary's
right
advisor is Kamala's sister. I don't know if people know that.
I didn't.
I know.
Yeah, so Hillary's primary.
I know that her sister ran her campaign. I know that.
Yeah, so her sister ran her campaign, and so Hillary
apparently
opened
into
up
the ground.
Yeah, Hillary opened up her Rolodex for Kamala.
Yeah,
and the thing is, and here's the problem that I have with like some women, right? That are Democrats. Like particularly my lady is a Democrat, right? And my lady's not like a lot of women that I know that are Democrats. If I hand you Warren, or if I hand you Kamala, somebody that toes the party line, well, we want a woman in office. But if I hand you Tulsi, who won't, toe the party line, well, all of a sudden, her being a woman is an issue. Does that make sense?
Tulsi's issue wasn't like her being a woman. It was just like her refusal to say Trump was a bad person.
Yeah. It's not that like her being a woman, Tulsi being a woman becomes an issue. It's like it becomes not an issue. You know what I mean? It becomes not discussed. Like
the women in my family wanted a woman president. They're like, we want a woman president. And I'm like, okay, if you want a woman president, here's a woman who's actually solid.
Yeah,
the idea of like voting for a woman because she's a woman, I'm not with that shit. Fuck that shit. I don't want a woman president just because she's a woman. That's not good enough for me.
It's a pretty selfish reason.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear that
it's a very selfish reason.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that that's not.
Basically you're saying that the needs of the nation are less important than your desire to have a female president. Like, I'm not going to say that having a female president wouldn't be nice. Like, go for it, sure.
I literally could give a fuck less about having a female president.
Sure, and like, that's your opinion, I get it. I'm just saying, like, it's actually a pretty selfish reason, though. Like, this is the presidency of the United States. We should have whoever the best president is, whether they're male or female.
Now, if you're talking about Tulsi Gabbard, now all of a sudden, fuck, I want a woman president.
Yeah, because you're evaluating him as an individual, as a candidate, right? Not based on.
Yeah, like I literally, and this is where I talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations, right? Like, the expectation is, for me, is the same for everybody, right? Like, women aren't going to be treated differently. Everybody's going to be treated the same, right? In my view, right? Like, if
you want it to be, yeah.
If I got bad news, I'm gonna say the same bad news to a woman the same way I'm gonna say to a man, right? It is what it is. That's the way I feel. Tulsi is such a good freaking candidate. If you ever heard her speak,
yes.
if you ever been to like one of her events, she's just so incredible. And I even like her more than Yang in certain instances. Like Tulsi's she's willing to get in the mud, and she understands how elections are won. Like, she's the reason Kamala didn't win the presidency, period.
Yeah, she got those inners in that you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, because she cut Kamala's throat in the debates.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to turn this like this isn't like doesn't need to be like a shit on like Kamala podcast or anything, but like people are overlooking what she did in California. She ran as a moderate Democrat in California. She managed to get a large number of Republicans in California who are more Republican than, middle of nowhere Republicans and Democrats all on her side, and won like seats like with outrageous numbers and everything. And then she gets into the Senate and she has like one of the most progressive voting records, right behind Bernie Sanders of anyone else. She is good at uniting and bringing people to the table because she did it with all of her constituencies in California. Yeah, I mean, California is not just a solid blue state. Yeah. Like you go out into the farm areas, you go like east of LA,
my memory
into Humboldt County in Northern California, it's all red. And
the population centers are blue. The rest of the state is red. I do agree there.
But the areas that she won those red votes, that's the thing. She took them blue.
Yeah, but with her, but with the way California,
she is a uniter. Like people want to say, oh, she's crappy, she's all this, but she's not a bad candidate. Like she's not a bad person.
I can guarantee you if she comes up against whoever, I'm voting. I mean, if Satan runs in 2024 against her, I will be voting for Satan 2024. Right?
Well, it's going to be Trump or Trump Jr. that's running in 2024.
I don't care who it is on the other side. I'm letting it be known now. She actually said this. She actually turned to Joe Biden and said, well, Joe Biden was talking about the Second Amendment. He said, well, we're going to do what the people want. And she actually turned to Joe Biden and said, well, can't we just executive order some of these weapons off the streets? Right?
I'm a huge gun supporter, and I agree that some weapons that do not.
And so for me, in laughter, she said that in laughter. She's like, well, can't we just executive order some of these guns off the streets? Like, to me, I like AK-47s. I like AR-15s. I like P90s. I don't think they're assault weapons, right? I've never seen a weapon assault anything, right? And AK-47s, if you buy an AK-47, you pull the trigger once, one bullet comes out. Just because it looks intimidating, it's no different than any other rifle, right? However, if you take somebody from California who has very strict gun laws, like California does, and they have a bunch of gun violence, by the way, and you run them against a Republican, they are going to get slaughtered. It is what it is.
I'm from California.
In my view,
I love guns. I love to shoot an AR-15, but I don't think everyone should own an AR-15. You can take out 15 people in the time it takes you with an AR-15 than in the amount of time that it takes you to take out one with a revolver or a 9mm. Like
So that's bullshit, Jason. So here's the thing. I believe you when you say that you fire weapons, but that sentence that you just uttered is not a sentence that someone that's familiar with firearms would utter.
I'm just
traditionally speaking, handguns have been considered the more lethal weapon than rifles.
They're the most dangerous.
Yeah. And traditionally speaking, there have been higher requirements in the United States to purchase handguns than rifles. That has been the historical norm for decades. Only very recently, with the media blitz against these assault weapons, has that public perception started to shift. used to need concealed carry permits or considered carry licenses, CCLs, right? And now people aren't talking about minimizing handguns. That's like not even part of the gun control conversation. Now it's, hey, let's get rid of these weapons that look like the M16, which is a military weapon enabled for full automatic fire, which have been banned since the days of Reagan. But an AR-15, although it looks similar to M16, is fundamentally
different. People see those guns and they're intimidated by them.
Right. It's about how it
not
looks.
An intimidation factor for me. I get that more one-off murders are committed with handguns but more mass shootings are committed with like AR-15s or other like assault-style rifles.
Yeah, it just depends on what the goal is. Like, is the goal to reduce mass
exactly,
shooting?
And that's why I think we need stronger background checks on people who buy AR-15s or other assault-style rifles.
Here's one other element to this, Jason, which is, we were talking about Kamala and everything, and then in terms of whether she's a good candidate and all that, and whether she's like primed for 2024, and then we ended up in a policy discussion, which it's important to note, as we've seen, right, like isn't the most relevant thing. That may be relevant to why, maybe Fred dislikes her a lot and everything, but she's generally, I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm surrounded by people. Even my nephew, he literally just turned 16, and he doesn't really care that much about politics, but I
wanted to show you guys something.
He does not like Kamala. Like
this is a shotgun.
Ooh.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Okay, you see it?
Yeah.
12 gauge pump, right? Sawed off.
Yeah, no, it's not a sawed off. It's a 26 incher. It's a 26 incher.
I don't have the best field of vision right now, so
with an arm brace, but I do have a clip that goes in here, right?
Right.
Now with this gun, if you're not an average, if you're just an average Joe who doesn't go shooting, you see something like this, right? And you think it's a freaking machine gun. It's a shotgun. That's it. It's a shotgun. That's all it is.
Yeah, because it's like a little sleek looking, right? Like
it looks intimidating, right? Especially when I have
once you have the magazine in there, yeah,
once I have a magazine in here, it looks very intimidating.
Oh,
it's a shotgun.
If it's not made out of wood, right? If it doesn't have like the two barrels or whatever, people are gonna think it's a.
And the thing is people who don't own guns, who don't fire guns, see a gun and then they watch TV and they see similar guns and they see people go wipe out a bunch of people, or they hear, if you really want to ban guns, we need to ban handguns. Because handguns are the most.
Guns. I'm talking about just stronger background checks. Because, like I said, I agree that handguns are more lethal in one-off shootings.
We do background checks now.
Shootings is what I'm talking about.
We do background checks now. You go to buy a gun, they do a background check. What are we talking about?
Yeah, but not extensive background checks. Is what I'm saying. They just make sure that you don't have any felonies or anything. They don't look at your records for like stalking. They don't look at your records for anything like that, like any type of misdemeanors.
I mean, yeah, it depends on the state. But like, I have a friend that lives in Connecticut, and he wants a gun, and he doesn't love like stringent background checks. Like, he's a Republican type, whatever. But he's in Connecticut, which has, according to him, like pretty extensive background checks. I think part of his background check went through the police in like the local police department. He said, "Oh yeah, like it's there right now," while he was trying to get a handgun. Like, it was like a multiple week process. Which he'll sit there and complain about, but
Connecticut is very stringent. Is very stringent. Matter of fact, I went to Connecticut. I go to Walmart. I'm like looking at the gun section. I'm like, where's the gun section? They're like, there is no gun section. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, every Walmart I go to, there's like shells and firearms and freaking ammunition. They're like, yeah, we don't sell guns. I'm like, well, how do people in Connecticut buy guns? They're like, well, they don't even sell them here in this area anywhere. And I'm like, Okay, but meanwhile, Connecticut has gun violence. Hartford, Connecticut has gunshots everywhere. So the bottom line is you cannot stop a man who will not be stopped. And if you really want to look at trying to control guns, you need to look at how we've done the similar situation with drugs. Like, we all know there's cocaine on the streets of every major city in America right now. Right now, hundreds of thousands of people are sniffing cocaine right now as we speak. But we restrict cocaine. The more you restrict it, the worse it's going to get, period. Because here's the thing. You're actually making like, for example, I can vote, I can have guns because I went through a process to prove myself, right? There's a lot of people that are just not going to go through the process. And then there's certain people, you're going to turn them into felons automatically with certain, like, for example, we have a handgun, right? It takes 13 shells in the clip. If I go to California with that handgun, I've automatically committed a felony. So when you restrict guns like that, you take honest citizens and you turn them into felons, and they don't even know.
I think it's important to more address the reason why people want to get a firearm that you don't want them to have than actually prevent them or make it criminal for them to get most of those firearms. You know,
I'm not trying to make it criminal or anything, though. I'm just literally just like, there needs to be more checkpoints to get certain types of guns. Like here in Oklahoma, Max walked in the other day, walked out with a pistol. He's liberal as can be, loves guns just like I do. He walked in, walked out with a pistol in under 5 minutes. That's with a background check.
And a lot of Americans would say, "What's wrong with it?"
Yeah, I would say that. I'd be like, "What's up?"
Yeah, but okay, let's say this is Max's first time out of the gate. You know, he just like broke up with someone and everything. He's heartbroken. Should he like really be like? There just needs to be time in between purchasing. There needs to be a waiting periods.
For what it's worth, Jason, if I wasn't concerned with any slippery slope legislation, I would actually love a 24-hour waiting period on purchasing weapons. Just personally, I would think that would be good because it would prevent a lot of hot-headed impulse decisions to purchase a very, a serious weapon. As a military member, like, I have a very lethal perspective on weapons. They definitely are not a toy to me by any stretch. And accordingly, I do.
You're talking to a guy who keeps his guns in a safety deposit box. So they are a very lethal thing to me. I see it the same way.
Right. I'm not saying
me to see it the same way.
Right. I'm not saying that you didn't think otherwise. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But shit, I totally lost my train of thought where I was going with that. I hate having
24-hour rule.
Yeah, 24-hour rule. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate you. Yeah. So, like, I think that would be a cool idea if it didn't actually just, like, prompt what's the next legislation against it going to be. Because right now it's so, like, politicized. There's never going to be enough for a lot of people. And it's important to remember, like, nowhere in this conversation of guns have we actually talked about the Second Amendment yet. It is a constitutionally enshrined right to have the freedom to bear arms. Now, for what it's worth, here's where we come up with a problem. Our founding fathers didn't exactly predict modern day weapons, all right? And I think you and I can agree we don't want everybody to have nukes, right? Nukes are weapons. Do we want everyone to have nukes? No, we don't.
Not according to Nantucket off of Rhode Island. They actually tried to get a nuclear weapon at one point to protect themselves.
Right, and you and I think that's a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that
I really want the mayor of Nantucket starting the next World War?
Right. So my point is that the concept of, hey, anything and everything is covered under the Second Amendment, I actually think that that's flawed. Like, I'll even give that to you, However, so you think everybody should have nukes, Fred?
No, I don't think everybody should have nukes. I'm not covering like dumb shit, right?
Well, I mean,
right?
you got to remember also the right to bear arms in the day. You're looking like you could take a pistol, like one of those old musket ball pistols, be point blank on someone, shoot it, and miss. I mean, guns were nowhere nearly as lethal then as they are now.
No.
Yeah, but here's the kicker, right? Here's the argument. Here's the argument that always pops up, right? They talk about, well, you don't need this amount of firepower, right?
That's bullshit. That assumption from the get-go is bullshit.
It is like as if somebody's coming after me with firepower, I want to settle the score. I want it to be an even fight between me and said person, right? I don't want even fights like California with this 10 bullet magazine bullshit, right? Yeah, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And do you know how hard it is to hit a target from 50 yards away if you're spooked out of your mind at 2:00 in the morning?
Yeah, you're not hitting shit.
I'm just saying, like, I would take my dad with a Derringer over pretty much any militia man from the middle of like Iowa or Nebraska or the Dakotas. I'd take Pierce with a Derringer over any of the militias.
We're getting really beside the point. You know, the point is that our founding fathers did intend for the citizenry to be armed. All right. Why the founding fathers intended that is kind of beside the point in itself, right? The founding fathers intended our citizenry to be armed, full stop. What does that actually mean? That doesn't mean having weapons of less value than their peers or less capability than their peers.
Let me ask you this, Pierce. With your 24-hour rule, I don't know how many women that I've told, right? I mean, there's been women in the Yang Gang that have called me and told me like some horrific things. First thing came out of my mouth was, "You need to go buy a gun today, right now, after work," right?
Sure.
This has happened. I've had this conversation. I've had this conversation with actually pretty prominent women within the Yang Gang, right? Which I won't mention. Right? Who have had like crazy people, stalkers, whatever, right? And I'm like, buy a gun today and put it in, carry it with you everywhere you go, and get the licensing and do the whole training, everything, right? What happens with the 24-hour rule when you have a psycho on your ass, right? And people always say call the cops. Well, call the cops is, come and wipe up the mess. Come and mop up. Come up and mop up my kitchen and do your tape lines, right?
Right.
Call the cops doesn't work. I mean, and when it does, half the time the cops end up murdering the wrong person, right? Like they end up murdering the freaking the guy who's murdering the person. You know what I mean? So cops are inefficient. So it's on you to defend yourself, in my view. So the 24-hour rule, what if it costs lives? Pierce?
I would be very interested in if there were any way to measure the amount of lives cost versus the amount of lives saved. Because I don't know. I don't know. You just gave a very compelling reason of, hey, this could contribute to someone's death or harm. And I can also say, well, crimes of passion of someone immediately purchasing a weapon and then going home and then shooting their wife for cheating on him or something like that. Like I know that those happen just as well, right? So like which one's more common? I don't know. Yeah, I genuinely do not know.
This is super interesting.
And I would be very interested if we could somehow find out those numbers. What's that, Devin?
What's super interesting about this is that like, Fred has his opinion. You have your opinion about not liking, like your gut tells you don't like the 24-hour window thing. That you brought that reason up as to why Jason brought up the whole we should have it because of these people, right? And so what you're just saying here, kind of implies that I think people think that when there's a certain set of rules, right, or certain policies where there's no 24-hour window, that's just like the standard, the way it is. And to make the action of implementing the 24-hour window means you must measure and conclusively say that, yes, we'd be better off in the 24-hour window. There's more hot-headed people than there are people that need immediate defense, right? Whatever. Like, measure that out if you could.
Well, I mean, you also have to look at most major cities have really good police response times.
Yeah,
it only takes 3 minutes to kill someone.
In the middle of nowhere, and you don't own a gun, you're just stupid.
So
you should own the gun the second you decide to move out into the middle of nowhere.
Oh boy.
So
here's where you're both right. All right, Jason, you're right in that. Generally speaking, if you need a firearm, it's not something that you need as an emergency. You should have been able to kind of see the need for it in advance. That being said, sometimes, guess what? You don't fucking do it, and guess what? Now you do need it now, right? So that's where Fred is also right. You do not want to have to rely on police for your safety.
To push back on Jason's point about living out in the middle of nowhere versus living in the city. Response times may be better in the city, but you're more apt to get killed in the city. Whereas response times are dog shit out in the sticks, but you're more apt to need a weapon to scave off a bear or a rabid mongoose, or whatever, than somebody breaking into your farmhouse. So it's six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. For me, I'm all about having weapons and be able to defend yourself. And I think for somebody who's away from home, I think it's even better for women, right, to be armed.
Right. There's more of a power gap that is equalized by a woman having a firearm than a man having a firearm. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, this whole idea that women don't know how to, women can't learn or don't know how to fire a weapon. I've never heard
anyone say that in my life.
Here's what you will hear is, for example, I bought a 45 for my lady, right?
Sure.
I didn't buy it. I gave her the money. She bought it. But that's neither here nor there. The second, to me, I like a 45 over a 9mm. A lot of people like 9mm over 45, but 45 has better stopping power. And when people talk about 44s and 45s, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, that's a big gun. You know what I mean? Or that's a man's gun. You know what I mean? Where a 380 or a 9mm usually is a female's gun. Right? And I just don't subscribe to that bullshit. Right? And so the first thing that came to my mind was when she goes to her training, the trainer is going to say, "Oh man, I can't believe you got a 45. We should probably try to put you into a 9mm." And I knew that it's probably what they would do, and that's exactly what they did. They said they automatically assumed that she was incapable because they saw, this cute little blonde. She's not going to be able to fire a 45. Right. And what did she do? She went in there, and they were like, "You've never fired a weapon before?" They were like, "No." She's like, "No, I've never fired a weapon before." She's like, "Well, how? You're really good at this." And I'm like, she's like, "It's not rocket science. You point at the target. It's not that big of a deal."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For what it's worth, I'm a little bit of devil's advocacy here. All right. Like me, I love the 1911. All right. I think the 1911 is pretty much the best handgun ever invented. I love the patriotic feel. I love the story of the gun, the way that it looks. I love everything about the 1911. However, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm more accurate with the 9mm. Just straight up. The way that weapon fits my hand as compared to the 1911, I just realized that my targets hit where I'm intending them to hit more frequently with the 9mm. So for my interest, if I were concerned with self-defense, I would actually want a 9mm, and I'm not like a large man, right? I tend to be slightly smaller stature than the average guy. Perhaps that's somewhat relevant to it. I don't know. I mean, I also bench like 200 pounds, so I don't think it's a strength issue. But I recognize like 9mm, it suits me more. Maybe it's my hands, maybe who knows what it is. I would wager if they're instructors, they see a lot of people come in through and through and through. They've probably developed pattern recognition of seeing like, oh, hey, smaller people tend to do better with smaller handguns, which makes sense on the surface. That being said, you saying your wife does better or like blew him away with the 45, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Well, not one bit.
Well, my lady is just an above average human, right? She's just like,
congratulations.
No, she's just like one of those people that's like.
No, I meant to you, like.
Yeah, she's just like one of those people. Yeah. She's like a total anomaly. You're like, how did you do that? She's like, oh, it's simple, right? Like everything is simple to her. She's just super smart. She's super intelligent, right? And she's like one of those by the book Joe type. She's like a by the book type person, right? And my thought was, get her a 44 or a 45. Teach her, the ins and outs of a 44 or 45, and then if we want to get a 9mm, we can get her a Glock 19 afterwards.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if you're training, like a lot of people who train MMA or football, they're like train harder than the ability. Like if you train above what you're going to actually have to do on Sunday, then when you get in the game, it becomes a lot easier. If that makes sense.
That logic does make sense. I'm wondering how well it applies to firearms, where really the muscle memory of like doing something exactly the same way and then making tiny adjustments to that is more important. That's my experience with shooting, at least.
I don't really I don't have a direct answer to that. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That was just my thought. I was just like, okay, if we train her on the the hardest artillery we can get, then later on, what is this question? I have a question for Fred. Fred did a lot of work
for Yang during the Democratic primary and drove a truck. How many hours of sleep did you get? Question from Sue.
Oh, not a lot. Matt hung out with me, right? And Matt was just like, dude, when do you sleep? And I was just like, I don't sleep a lot, Oh, here's Jason again. What's up, man?
Welcome back, Jason.
Sorry,
I know you lost internet. Yeah. You lost internet. It's all right.
Coming through here in Oklahoma, so.
How do you like Oklahoma?
What?
How do you like Oklahoma?
It's Oklahoma.
Dude, I came through Oklahoma the other day, and you guys have coyotes running around everywhere.
Hold on, you're breaking up a little. I don't think my internet's that stable yet. Okay, maybe does that work if I turn
Stu, to answer your other question, he's saying that he's the co-founder of Truckers for Yang, which was a political action committee.
You guys are ball frozen. Shit.
Come back in, Jason. We'll see you soon.
Oh no, he's gone again, huh?
Yeah, he's gone.
Damn, that sucks.
Anywho,
I didn't sleep a lot during the campaign.
For sure.
And to be quite honest with you, like I feel like I gave too much. Right? Like
that's probably true.
I
saw you like on streams all over the place, and then like I said, I was in Arizona before. I was in Tucson, and then I went to his like LA rally, and you were there. I think I got a picture of you with your hat, like with your like Yang head.
Yeah, that was actually somebody from Florida's Yang head.
Yeah, like you're at this rally. You're gonna be at whatever the fuck else, whatever event in what other state. You did it forever.
Yeah, well, the thing is like it cost me tons of time and money that really I didn't have. And then once Yang lost, it hit me. I was like, dude, all this money and time you're spending, and they're taking the truck away. They're not taking the tech skills away from the guys in San Francisco, where I went to the San Francisco rally, right? They're not taking the tech skills away from those guys. They're taking the truck and they're taking me out of the equation, right? So I'm really the guy that should actually put my, put my foot on the gas pedal and truck as hard as I can for as long as I can. And that's why I invested super heavy in the stock market now. Like literally every dime I get goes to the stock. Like I told all my friends and family, like, don't buy me anything for Christmas. I want stocks for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like stocking stuffers, right? We even have it's funny, we have this, shout out to Sue. She's actually one of the, we have this chat called the Yang Gang Stonkers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a stock group where we all research companies together, and it's pretty cool. But back to the point of like during the campaign, I really wanted him to win to the point where like it was kind of it ended up hurting my my income. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, imagine.
I mean, it did for a lot of people that took time off to volunteer or to put their life on hold, because I think a lot of people recognize that it was about something more important than themselves. I think you recognize that as well, and it was a bit of sacrifice. But you know, you're a celebrity inside the Yang Gang community, and you created a bunch of.
I wish people would stop saying that shit.
Whatever.
Dude,
right?
Dude, I'm just
right?
me, all right? And I'm like a celebrity that's here below you, all right? Like it's whatever.
Well, like the reason I wish people would stop saying that is like celebrities are able to monetize their fame or whatever, and I'm like,
I would say professional.
I understand, but what I'm saying is I haven't been able to monetize anything. This is costing me money.
Right.
Being part of the Yang Gang hasn't made me a dime.
Yeah,
right.
The celebrity within the Yang Gang community is like the important part of that phrase. It's relative,
right?
And you're talking
fall
about
on different sides of the quote unquote Yang Gang, Fred. But like I understand where you're coming from, because people like try to call me an influencer. And I'm like, no.
Anyway,
well, not only that, but like here's the thing. Like I recently called these man-hating bitches what they were. They were man-hating bitches, right?
And I called.
What's that?
I said I'm not gonna like where this is going, am I? But
no. What I'm saying is, I was on Twitter, and people were bashing Andrew, and they were calling him sexist, and then I was having like a civil discourse, and then all of a sudden people wanted to, because I didn't want to agree with you, then you want to attack my character, and I'm like, no, you're just a man-hating fucking bitch. That's what it is. You're a man-hating bitch, right? And I said what I said. I stand by what I said, and I'm not changing what I said, right? And I would have called a dude, you're just a fucking dick, or you're just a fucking asshole, or whatever, right?
I think the proper term is cuckold.
What's that?
Cuckold.
I would have said you're a fucking cuck, whatever, right? But the bottom line is, I don't like being a celebrity in the Yang Gang because I can't say what the fuck is on my mind without the Twitter mob. Like there was a chick from New York and another one from San Francisco that got all high and mighty and were trying to like cancel me. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about either one of you bitches, right? And I call you bitches because in my view, that's what you are, not because you're a woman. right? I'm calling you a bitch because that's what you are. And being a celebrity doesn't allow me to talk the way I want to talk. And it frustrates me. Like, I don't want to be a celebrity within the Yang Gang.
Yeah.
No,
just
that was quite a departure of where I had intended that sentence to go. I'd meant it.
I understand what you're saying.
What Gigi or Gigi is saying below. You know, we influenced a greater cause, a cause greater than ourselves. And even though it did require sacrifice, I would say it was worth doing, you know? So,
yeah.
And on that note, like, thank you for doing it. Obviously, you are unapologetically you. And I think it's to be celebrated that people like yourself, because you're far from unique, as well as people like those bitches that you were, talking with. I think it's fascinating that you two can actually come together despite all of your other disagreements and say
we weren't coming together.
We want to go forward.
We weren't coming together. That these were people that
I know you weren't coming together about whatever bullshit you were talking about.
Can we please stop?
I don't do Twitter.
We weren't coming together on that. We weren't coming together on that occasion. Because here's my thing, right?
Oh boy.
My thing is this. Hey, my thing is, you're not gonna drag Andrew. You're not gonna character assassinate Andrew when there's nothing to lose. Like, we're not in an election. This is 2020. Biden won. It doesn't matter, right? But what you're not going to do in my presence, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's in person, is you're not going to character assassinate one of my friends based off the fact that you got a bone to pick on some social justice bullshit that is not going to amount to shit. I'm not going to allow that, and I wouldn't allow that the same thing to happen to you, Pierce, you, Devin, or you, Jason. Does that make sense?
I appreciate you willing to stand up for me, man.
Well, one of the greatest things I've learned so far, Fred, is there are literally apps you can download that limit your time on Twitter. I'm down to 2 hours a day.
Oh,
it's the greatest thing I've ever downloaded.
Bro, you know what the thing, I had like a month and a half where so it was like 2 weeks I wasn't on Twitter. And then I set like a weekend rule, like I will download the app on the weekends and only comment on the weekends. And then it went from there to, okay, I'll only comment on the weekends, but I'll watch. And then the wheels fell off, and I was just like, all right, I'm in this for the duration. You know what I mean? And I get into Twitter battles with people and it usually happens around communism and socialism, particularly communism, where people want innovators to start companies and go out and invest hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and start a company so that the employees get like all the wealth of the entire company is divided among the employees. And I'm like, why would somebody, like this new Bernie bro sector of Yang Gang that are like hardcore communists? Those are the people I usually argue with biggest on Twitter. And I get into these like Twitter rants with people, and it just goes on for days. And it's just, I wish I could do what you do, Jason.
Dude, I started doing it because people started accusing me of owning a bank and being George Soros's bitch, simply because I'm a Jew.
Oh.
So I quit. Like 2 hours a day. That's all I allow myself.
Why is there so much Jew hate?
I don't know.
That's a separate topic.
We're evil, apparently, I
was really good for like post primary, probably from February to June. I just deleted Twitter and was not on it.
Oh, Devin, I didn't see you on Twitter until August. You did a lot better than June.
June, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I mean,
you did a lot better than June.
I don't post shit. Like I never put anything on it. But I haven't even downloaded the app. I'm just signed into Chrome. Like I haven't gotten to the point where I'm downloading the app, but I'm basically on it. Probably 2 hours a day. I like how 2 hours a day is like your cap.
All right.
Yeah,
all
2 hours a day.
I'm gonna interject with a question that's been on my mind. Sue, when do you sleep?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like 4 a.m. in Portugal right now.
We need this answer stat.
Yeah, she's in Portugal, Holmes.
Yeah, she's in Portugal. As far as I can tell, she's up at any time of the day. I don't know. Maybe she just does those power naps. You know, maybe she gets like just 1 hour to sleep here, 1 hour to sleep there, 1 hour to sleep there. You know,
I've been to Portugal. I mean, they do have like a steady supply of that Spanish wine, and that'll keep you up all night.
Yeah,
she's actually one of my top stock buddies. Really, Matt, this guy Paul, and then this other guy Elaine Garcia, right?
Oh shoot, Sue says I'm right. She's got that power napping schedule.
Oh wow, that's cool. I was gonna suggest that
some people can make it work, you know.
I just said if you stay drunk enough, I mean, you know, you can stay up all the time.
I was gonna suggest that there's multiple people that are acting under the Sue, pseudonym, as it were.
Oh, you want to get into that whole conspiracy theory of like there. Women for Yang, the Twitter handle Women for Yang was ran by this woman named Stacy. And for the longest, it was a long-running conspiracy theory that Stacy was also Maria, who was also Dankbot, who was also Joe Kinney, who was also someone else.
You are at a level of drama that I have no interaction with at all.
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying there's multiple real people in real life that are all kind of taking turns being
Sue, yeah,
on Sue's account so that she's just running.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Thank you for translating for me, Devin. I
appreciate literally,
within the Yang Gang.
Literally, Sue, right? We'll before we started the Yang Gang stock horse, right? Me and her would just DM on different stocks, right? And she will be up at she's like, yeah, it's 4 a.m. She'll be up at 4 a.m. in freaking Lisbon, freaking reading SEC filings and watching videos and going through companies. And
Sue, can I put you in charge of my Robinhood? It's really sucking right now.
You have a Robinhood or stuff.
Yes, I have a Robinhood.
Oh, apparently you should join the group.
I don't want to join the group because that requires more studying than I'm already doing.
I need to start digging into that stuff.
Dude, all you gotta do
right? I'm getting an income, and so I should do some of it.
This is what you gotta do. You gotta get your Robinhood or Webull or fucking whatever platform you decide to go with. And then you throw money in there, and then you just in the beginning, because what I did is in the beginning I just started throwing shit at the wall. Right? Literally. I was just like, my whole idea was if it's on the freaking market, buy. Right? If it's down that day, buy.
Sure.
I had no rhyme or reason. I was mostly doing Fourth Industrial Revolution EV stocks and just different shit, right? So I started off the first month and a half, no rhyme or reason, and I was trading sideways, going up and down, but no real gains. Mm-hmm. And then I started doing some real deep dives on different companies. And then once I started really understanding how the market works, now I've been blowing it out of the water.
The only smart investment I've made on my own is America's out of change, so I bought a shit ton of Indian mineral companies that specialize in copper and zinc. That's
how that works out.
Okay, so I like where you're going with this. Are these like low float small cap like OTCs or?
I picked them up for like $4 or $5 a share when the change shortage first like came up, and right now they're worth like $20-$25 a share.
Good.
So I did okay. Still not enough to offset like the 30 grand that I lost in my 401k thanks to Trump's administration. So,
well, I lost, or I'm up like 3,000 on one account and like 9,000 on another.
Oh, I'm only up like $500-$600.
So I'm up.
And I can't figure out how to take it out when I need it.
I'm up about 12,000, but I have invested like altogether 17 plus 5. I'm invested 22,000, and I have 36,000.
Not bad.
What's
Fred's
that?
a genius.
I said not bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible, not really good, but not terrible, right? So I put in like, I think 17 plus 5. Yeah, I put in 17 plus 23,000, and I have 36.
I look at that as a huge win. So,
well, it's not bad for 5 months, but also, I will admit, most of my shit is in Neo, and I got Neo at like bottom, rock bottom pricing, right?
It's like a penny stock that took off.
Yeah. So Neo just took off. Dude, and here's the thing with these Chinese companies, it's really scary because the Chinese, they run their shit pretty fucked up, honestly.
Well, that's pretty much the same with the Indian companies.
What's that?
Like the strip mining companies and everything that I like invested in like about a month ago because of change and everything. Like when I started seeing all the signs that said we don't have change, and started like looking into them, like their working conditions for the workers are horrible, but their stocks do great.
Well,
it makes me feel like I'm a horrible person.
With the Chinese, there's this movie called The China Hustle. If you've ever seen it on, it's on freaking Hulu, right?
Oh, cool.
Everyone should check it out. Everyone should check it out. Basically, they have all these reverse merger companies from banks in the United States, and these Chinese companies will reverse merger with an American company. And what they were doing is they're taking like these little, they were IPOing at like $2 or something, $3. And they were actually creating companies that were just shell companies that weren't even real. Mm-hmm. And this was like, it started in like 2008, 2009, right? So you had all these bankers who were like, when you take your money to the bank, usually what the bank does is they take the money that you've deposited and they go put it in the stock market and make money off of it, right? So back in 2008, 2009, when the economy fell out, bankers were like, shit, we got all this money. Where the fuck are we going to put it? So they got together with the Chinese and they were like, all right, let's just create a bunch of bullshit companies, and then we'll put them on the stock market. We'll invest in them, and then we'll blow them the fuck up, and then we'll write a bunch of articles about the companies being awesome, and then we'll sell it all off and fuck over the investors. And so you have all these guys who are like on the inside of this shit that were like
shorting the stock.
Yeah, there were a bunch of guys on the inside of this shit. They're like, look, we were bankers who we had our budget for a specific amount of fraud. We budgeted in fines for fraud. And we're like, this is what we do. We're scumbags for a living. we know we're doing this the wrong way, but we don't give a fuck. And they go out and make like $100-200 million, and then they take like a freaking $500,000 fine. No jail time, no nothing.
Well, no, it's kind of what Elon Musk has been doing with Tesla here recently. Like, if you remember back in like April, he did the Joe Rogan thing, and then he went on that Twitter tirade saying Tesla stock is too overvalued, that it's not that good of a company and whatever, and tanked his own stock so he could buy more stock to regain his control of the company because he had sold off a lot to leverage himself for SpaceX. And then once he got it low enough to where he could afford to buy more, then he started, pumping up the company again and acting like a normal CEO again, well, as normal as Elon can act. And yeah.
What a scumbag move. I love it.
Elon Musk is a giant scumbag. You should really check out this podcast called Behind the Bastards. It humanizes all the world's most evilest people.
What's it called?
Behind the Bastards. It's fantastic.
Behind the Bastards.
The world's most evil people.
Yeah, the world's most evil people. We're talking like, Harvey Weinstein. We're talking freaking Jim Bowie. We're talking Elon Musk. We're talking Mark Zuckerberg. It's a fantastic podcast.
So I will say, no one is ever the bad guy of their own story.
So let me get this straight.
Oh, they're bad guys, but it humanizes them. And
so in Beyond the Bastards, they bring the bastards to the podcast?
No, they don't. None of the bastards have agreed to appear that are still living.
Fuck. Well, I don't give a fuck about somebody's random opinion about.
Oh no, it's not opinions. It's like
whatever.
Facts.
Whether facts or not, like I want to, like if I want to hear about Elon Musk, I want to actually hear what he has to say, not what somebody else.
Oh no, they use statements and everything that he's made in the past and everything like that. So like you hear his own words on certain things.
I'd like to check it out. It out. It sounds because I run down the road a lot and I'm either listening to a podcast or a book. My buddy Colby, he's got me on this fucking. Is anybody into crypto?
I know of crypto.
I'm not like deep in it now. I have been in the past. I have some. I'll probably get security,
so I have to be aware of it.
I mined like half a Bitcoin like forever ago.
Dude, the crypto bulls, right? Like if you're a crypto bull, that's all the fuck they talk about, right? Yes. It's like a 20-year-old guy in college like chasing pussy. Like that's like all he talks about. Right? It's like, dude, that's all they fucking talk about. Crypto guys, they are so sold on fucking crypto. You can't bring a stock to them. They're like, I don't give a fuck about any stock.
They refuse to believe that crypto is backed up by real life money.
Bitcoin is doing good this month, though.
I'm not against crypto. I'm
just saying, but the fact that they refuse to believe that, like, it plays a factor in with real money is just like,
Well, the thing is like, I thought that the Tesla bulls were, when I say bulls, what I mean is like people who are like fanboys of the company. I thought Apple and Tesla fanboys were bad until I started following all these crypto guys, right? And these guys are. They're like if crypto was a cult, it would be worse than MAGA because these guys are so incredibly sold on crypto.
I can see that.
Literally, I'm gonna start investing in crypto just so I can be part of the fucking cult because they are so fucking sold.
Here's a fun fact for you, friend, and Sue, if you're still here, Sue. Here's a fun fact for both of you. The energy consumption used to support the Bitcoin network, so the energy of all of the computers mining Bitcoin, is the same energy consumption that the entire country of Portugal uses.
Damn. What?
So, when you mine Bitcoin, you're using your computer, right? You're like basically having your computer perform calculations. So that takes energy, that takes electricity, right? So the electricity used to power the Bitcoin network is equivalent to the entire power usage of the country of Portugal.
Damn.
I can see that. Yeah.
Random facts about Portugal. Way to go, Pierce.
Yeah.
Sisu, we love you, and that's why Pierce learned that.
The thing is, Fred, it's like layers, right? Like there's something a little culty about being really into stocks. Like it's like beyond the like your average understanding. It's kind of nitty gritty, like especially like, and when you're in it and you feel like you understand it, especially when you're doing well in stocks or whatever.
Well, the same goes about politics. I mean, or any subject.
Kind of feeling like you feel pretty smart. Crypto's like just the crazy nerdy ass version of that. And then you're like, oh, you just have Bitcoin? Well, what about this new, 150 different, more than that, coins that just pop up all the time?
There's like Amazon coin. There's like a whole bunch of other coin. Even WWE has a coin.
I think they're fat. I mean, I think their existence and kind of reading about, especially the ones that are purpose driven, right? Like it's not like oh, this is a currency that
I think Fred went to get his dollar.
But the coins that are used as kind of currency within a self-contained system that serves a purpose, that's like a.
Here's my problem with crypto. Sorry to interrupt. My problem with crypto is I can't evaluate the company, right?
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to find companies with negative earnings. That's what I like. I like to find companies with negative earnings. And people always give me shit for it. They're like, why do you like to find companies with negative earnings? Well, because when I find a company with negative earnings, the stock is shit, right? And then much like Amazon stock was shit when it was at negative earnings, but you have like either a real killer CEO who's a good salesperson, or you have a real killer concept. So I compare it to.
Are really good to follow for crypto soon.
So I compare it to, you can either bet on the jockey or you can bet on the horse. The jockey being the CEO and the team around them, and the horse being the company and the direction of which the company is going, and like the product that they're or service that they're coming up with. So when I go to evaluate a company and evaluate a chart, I can have certain details that I can look toward to be like, okay, this is the reason why, or this is the person why I would invest in said company. My problem with crypto is I don't know how to evaluate the value of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of the evaluation is like evaluating them, like completely. You're just evaluating the market itself. Like there's people in my life who, at least at some point, were like really into it, and they're talking about like Fibonacci retracements and like the curves and the point, like the lines of resistance of like Bitcoin just hit like a 20,000 resistance. Like you always see it hitting 20,000, and then it's like, nope, not quite. Like, because it's just like a collective, like, psychological endeavor of like how the market will go.
There's no earnings statement. There's no.
Yeah.
There's no earnings statement. There's no product. I
have coins that are, back during like the surge, like late 2017 or whatever. There was like Ripple, which was attempting to facilitate faster banking transactions, which like had a tangible purpose, and then there was actually like partners getting involved with it, and so you can have things like that where that'll cause it to shoot up. That's like actually real and tangible, and CNBC is like talking about it or whatever back then. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like a numbers chart lover hobby. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for the day when whoever created cryptocurrency, like whoever created Bitcoin, to say, okay, I'm shutting the entire system down and I am taking it all, and you all are losing every dime you put into it. Bye-bye.
It's not really
well, here's the killer. The guy who created it, like the Shitoshi, whatever, Nakamoto or whatever the fuck his name is.
Himashira or something. Or wait, no, that's a place we bombed in Japan during World War II.
Shitoshi or whatever the fuck his name is, right? He fucking does. He hasn't even came for. Like, he's sitting in a fucking apartment somewhere. Like,
yeah, we don't even know if it's one person. Like, we don't even know if it's right? I mean, we don't know that it's a singular person. We just know like, there's just this name of Satoshi. I forget the last name.
Well, I mean, if you want to believe the MAGAs, this guy is literally just George Soros fucking with, the world's economy. So,
what is this? What is this group? This stonk group?
Oh, Sue posted it in the chat.
So, what?
Okay, so the
where are you?
Yang the Yang Gang stonk whores, right? So it's a group of stock investors who bounce ideas off each other.
But are you guys in a group chat? Like what's the mechanism?
No, in the chat on the side of the phone, or on the side of the computer. If you scroll up, Sue posted the group name of it.
It's just a Twitter chat, chat group.
Okay.
And then. So
add Devin into it. His handle is Still O'Brien or something like that.
Hey, exactly. You know who is fucking boss in the fucking group is fucking this guy Paul, right? So he's like one of these dudes that like knows a shit ton, but like you can't get inside of his head because like he like knows. But you could tell, like, he knows a shit ton of stuff. Now, Sue will tell you, this guy, Paul, knows a shit ton of stuff. And, like, he just, like, comes in the chat and, like, starts blasting away. And then he'll be gone for a while, right? And then he's, like, one of those people where I wish I could go to his house and, like, sleep on his couch for, like, 2 weeks. And have him show me, because I think he's a day trader. And there's some of these day traders... They can make like 2 to freaking 10 grand in a day doing fucking nothing. All they do is evaluate companies, see when they're gonna freaking. And a lot of them have bots. They have these They have these scanner bots, and the scanner bot goes into the entire market. Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting for that damn training from Paul too. What the fuck?
Damn it, Paul, whoever you are. I know you're watching right now. Get on your shit.
Right? So this guy, I can tell he knows what the fuck he's talking about because he'll come into the chat and he'll unload like 3 or 4 companies. And then like the next day, these companies will be like up 45%. Right? Boom! Up 60%. Boom! Right? And I'm like, damn, how the fuck does this guy know this shit? And I'm doing good. I'm up like 45% in 5 months. I made like 12 grand, right? So I'm doing better than most. But this is a bull market too, and I'm invested in Fourth Industrial Revolution stocks. Mm. So it's basically stocks where you're cutting out the human element, and politics doesn't give a fuck. That's where I'm at. But this guy's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Word. Anyway, Fred, thank you for coming on, man. It's been good to have you.
It's been great being on. I should probably spend some time with the lady.
I could tell by the way you were helping on the door that something like that might be on your mind. But seriously, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. And I'm personally, I'm gonna check out your Stonk Whores crew. See if there's anything interesting in there. I always enjoy learning new things. But
yeah, well, have somebody add you, bro.
All right, and add me then.
Oh, yeah.
Invite me.
Yeah,
Easy, right?
We'll definitely invite you.
Sweet. All right, everyone's still watching. Sue, Gigi. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you, guys.
Gigi,
everyone.
you're awesome.
Yeah, you are. You are. All right. Good seeing you too, Devin and Jason. Well, I'll be back
All right,
next
later,
week.
folks.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy, yeah, oh yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, gang, gang.
Gang, gang.